The Bordeaux resistance collapsed. Cornered by Dohse, Grandclément's hatred of communism was stronger than his loyalty, and tragedy was inevitable. On June 6, 1944, a hopeful dawn brought the light of liberation to the Normandy coast of France. This was a historic milestone, opening the greatest and most important landing campaign in Europe. As more than 100,000 Allied troops landed in France, the largest campaign had officially begun. At the same time, the order to rise was clearly transmitted throughout the entire French resistance movement. The Maquis forces immediately took action, carrying out strategic and covert attacks. They attacked key supply routes head-on, slowing German movements. The attacks were intended to completely paralyze the German army's ability to reinforce on all fronts. However, in the city of Bordeaux, this hope of liberation was quickly overshadowed by the shadow of betrayal. Here begins the story of a rare tragedy of loyalty dominated by political prejudice. André Grandclément joined the resistance, a man with a strong military background. He was a disapprover of the German occupation and had strong anti-communist views. Under the codename Bernard, Grandclément quickly became the leader of the OCM network in the area. He established secret communications with London, coordinating operations remotely. He cooperated closely with British intelligence to receive support in weapons and resources. He stockpiled weapons in preparation for a pre-planned strategic uprising. Everything went smoothly, consolidating his position and power in the resistance movement. He is seen as a key leader and a great hope of the OCM network in Bordeaux. Up to this point, no one expected that position to be completely destroyed by the enemy's clever maneuvering. But all plans began to fall apart in 1943, when Germany intensified its mopping-up campaign. German security forces swept across the area, causing heavy casualties. This sweep severely damaged the entire resistance network in southern France. The event was decisive and became tense when Grandclément's wife, Lucette, was arrested by the Gestapo. The arrest of Mrs. Lucette was a huge psychological blow to leader Bernard. Grandclément considered surrendering to the Germans in exchange for his wife's safety, but his teammates firmly prevented this reckless intention of his. They warned that he knew too many important secrets and needed absolute protection. Although he did not surrender immediately, Grandclément was identified and arrested. He was arrested by the Gestapo at a café in Paris in September 1943. In Bordeaux, he comes face to face with a particularly dangerous and cunning Gestapo officer. It was Friedrich Dohse, a notorious spy hunter and counterintelligence expert. Dohse is a man with the ability to analyze prisoners' psychology in an extremely sophisticated way. He did not need to use violence, but applied psychological exploitation tactics with words. He demonstrated that he was well aware of Grandclément's activities and the names of his comrades. This was when the Gestapo saw an opportunity to exploit the political prejudices of prisoners. Dohse recognized Grandclément's deep and unshakable hatred of communism. He knew this ideology could be stronger than loyalty to the resistance movement. Dohse offers a dark deal, an exchange fraught with temptation and danger. Grandclément had to surrender part of his weapons in exchange for the release of prisoners and the rescue of people. More importantly, he offered a greater political promise to entice him. Dohse promised that his right-wing resistance forces would be left intact. They would be allowed to fight against the communists as the Germans withdrew from France. This was a proposal intended to trigger internal divisions and confrontations among the resistance factions. Although many teammates firmly rejected this idea of betrayal from the beginning, they warned Grandclément of the dire consequences that would befall the network. Grandclément, however, accepted the Gestapo's deal, blinded by prejudice. This action marked the end of his role as resistance leader. He handed over some 45 tons of important resistance materials to the German army. In return, about 100 prisoners were released, including his wife Lucette. This action immediately caused serious consequences beyond control. Grandclément had officially become a double agent for the Nazis by accident. The surrender of weapons and information crippled the resistance's fighting ability. This is the strategic collapse of the entire network in the Bordeaux area. The surrender of weapons and information also resulted in the tragic deaths of many other resistance members. By July 1944, the truth about the betrayal could no longer be concealed. The French service in London intervened, issuing a public and official message. The message declared Grandclément a traitor and demanded severe punishment. To capture him, the resistance spies used a cunning plot. They lied that there were orders to send him to England to defend himself before his superiors. Grandclément believed him and was taken to a secret camp for internal trial. Here, his plea of saving lives was rejected by the judges. The judges concluded that the consequences of handing over weapons and information were too serious. The deaths caused by his actions are an unforgivable sin. The final punishment was given July 27, 1944. André Grandclément was executed by the resistance for treason and causing damage. His wife, Lucette, and her bodyguard were also shot with him, despite her objection to her husband's agreement. However, this ending triggered another war crime from the Nazis. In revenge for the death of this valuable spy, the Nazis decided to retaliate brutally. In early August 1944, the Germans were accused of massacring 50 prisoners in revenge.